and welcome to Sunday Night Live with Mandy. This is the very first episode, so it's going to be a little different. We're going to cover the recent shooting in Washington, D.C., the opening night of Dancing with the Stars, which was very good in my opinion, and paranormal stuff. So let's start with the Washington, D.C. shooting. Last time I looked, they think that the shooter, Alexis, had heard voices, which is what prompted him to do the shooting. I'm not sure what to think of that. You're welcome to post your comments on that. I think that obviously that means that he fell through the cracks of society and could have had a mental illness that was not caught or diagnosed properly, which again, if he's from the Army, which he, I believe, was, that's normal. Well, not normal, but it's expected with what they deal with out on the sidelines of the war and, shooting people and seeing so much tragedy that they just automatically do it themselves, and have mental blocks in their head that tell them, like he said, voices told him to randomly start shooting, or whatever the case may be. I don't know too much about the victims. They haven't really said anything. I know one person was described as a very sweet old lady. There was a dedicated grandfather. One person that was shot and injured was a Washington, D.C. police officer. I'm not sure how that turned out, but I don't really follow it all that often. Alright, so next on our list is Dancing with the Stars. Yesterday, as you know, kicked off their 17th season. I was very excited. I was anxious to see the cast, and I got up on the 4th to watch Dancing with the Stars reveal on Good Morning America. I had known that Valerie Harper was doing it because her spokesperson said it early that she was doing it, and she did pretty well considering she's 74 and has cancer. She's supposed to be dead by now. The others did pretty well too. The only one that bottomed out very badly was Bill Nye the Science Guy. He got a score of 14 out of 30. That's the lowest score that I personally have ever seen. They also did something new this season where there's no more skybox. They, as Tom Bergeron put it, they downgraded to a condo. There's no more skybox. They don't have to run up the stairs to get their scores. It's all done right there on the main floor. There's a little corner they call the bus stop, where all of the stars and their partners are sitting and waiting for their turn. So it's very personal this season. It's not separated like it's been in past seasons where they have to climb up the stairs, come down, talk with Brooke in the skybox before heading down to dance. This time it's all on the one floor. For the results of the dancing, let me get my book out here. I always write them down, just for this mainly, and for my mother who sometimes works. I didn't write them all down because she came home, but I have a few of them, and I kind of remember the other scores. First up was Brant Doherty and Peter Murgatroyd. They did the Cha-Cha. Brant is known for his acting on Pretty Little Liars from ABC Family. His hips were a little stiff, but it was a very good start, considering it was the first day ever that any of these people have danced competitively. He got a 22 out of 30, which is pretty average. Like a B to a B plus range of a dance, which is very good. Next was Leah Remini and Tony Dovolani. Leah Remini is known as Carrie from King of Queens, and she had the foxtrot, and she did awesome. She claims she was a little nervous, but she did an excellent job on her foxtrot. Foxtrot is very tough to get for your first dance, especially if you've never danced before. She got a 21 out of 30, which is very good. Corbin Blue and Karina Smirnoff were next. Corbin is from High School Musical, and they had Contemporary, which is my favorite dance to perform. because pretty much all the rules go out the window. There are certain rules that have to stay in contact, but mostly it's in this. That's why they call it contemporary. It's new. Their dance was steamy and fun, literally, and their score was 24 out of 30. Next came Jack Osborne and Cheryl Burke. Now, Jack Osborne has MS, so that automatically makes him an inspiration to do this with such a debilitating disease. And he had the foxtrot. His footing was a little off, but that's probably due to his MS, which causes balance problems amongst other things. And he has a great positive energy. He's a great dancer. The judges said that his sister Kelly, who came in third on season 9, he's giving Kelly a run for her money. And his first score was 23 out of 30. Amber Riley and Derek Huff had the highest score of the night of 27. They had the cha-cha. Amber Riley is a larger woman, so she's an inspiration to any overweight or just large-framed female. And Amber is also known as her work on Glee. They had a great chemistry. They're very fun together. It was a pretty good dance as well, and she moved very well considering her size. Again, their score was 27 out of 30, and they have the largest score of the night. Next came Elizabeth Berkley and Val Schmirkovsky. Elizabeth Berkley is known for her work in Saved by the Bell, and also CSI Miami. They had the contemporary, and she danced when she was very young. In her younger years, she was a dancer, and then she stopped dancing to pursue acting, and then had children, got married, and she never got back to dancing, so she figured this would be a great way to incorporate her love of dancing back into her life. She had great lines, awesome flexibility, and she really shined as a contemporary dancer. Her score was 24 out of 30. Now, Bill and Time Stenson, who's a new dancer, so to be honest with you, 14 is not a surprise, because new dancers, it's their first time ever being professional, so it might come off a little bit as nerves. Bill, not the science guy, had the cha-cha. It was a very bad dance. In my opinion, he was very off kilter. Then there was Bill Engvall and Emma Steckler, and Emma did an amazing job teaching Bill how to dance. Now, Bill Engvall is a comedian, in case any of you don't know who Bill Engvall is. He's a redneck comedian. He's Blue Collar Comedy Tour with Jeff Foxworthy, Larry the Cable Guy, that gang. He's known for his Here's Your Sign segment, which is like taking warning signs from things and turning it into a joke, or basically his nice, polite way of making fun of stupid people. It's really awesome to see him dancing, and he did a really good job. His score was a 24 out of 32, I believe. And they did the cha-cha. And he looked very sharp in his, pink vest. It was awesome. The football player, Keshawn Johnson, and his partner did okay. They got a 17 out of 30. So, that's acceptable for the first night, but he needs to loosen up his muscles and his joints a little bit. I also think the size difference is a problem because he's wicked tall and his partner's average. So it's very hard to dance your close dances with someone who's twice the size as you are. Trust me, I know. I'm only 4'10½". Then Valerie Harper came onto the floor, and they let her have her moment of explaining why she's doing Dancing with the Stars. And one of the things that they did at the beginning of the show was they had a little segment of all of the celebrities said why they were doing the show. And Valerie's was obviously to show people that just because the doctors give you a certain amount of time doesn't mean that the doctors are right. And the way she put it is keep living, keep hoping, keep dancing. And I just totally loved that line. It was so perfect. And it's true. The more you dance and believe that you're going to get well, the higher your chances of getting well are. And, you know, Valerie was supposed to be dead in March. She was given the diagnosis in January and was told she had 3 months to live. Here it is, September, and she's still alive and obviously well. She was partnered with Tristan McManus, who also had my buddy from last season, Dorothy Hamill. And surprisingly, they both got the same first score, which was 21 out of 30. But Valerie had the foxtrot and Dorothy had the contemporary. I'm starting to wonder now, you know, is Valerie going to repeat Dorothy, and is next week going to be the week that she pulls out because of health reasons? But I don't see that happening with Valerie. We'll see. I'm not quite sure about the other scores or the other dancers. I can't remember them off the top of my head. But next week I will definitely write them down, all down, and then I'll be able to comment on all of them for you. But this is just like a taste of what each week is going to be, along with different themes. Like, we're not always going to talk about the shooting. We're not always going to talk about paranormal stuff. It just depends on what's on my mind for the week and what happens during the week. So paranormal activity is a current project of my sister and I's, along with my fudge business. Is sooner or later we are going to go and get the plot records or land records of this apartment building, because there's, according to our neighbor upstairs, who's a ghost hunter, psychic, medium, there's been an increase in paranormal activity in the apartment, in which one of them, my nephew, Patrick, who's autistic, had his own paranormal run-in with the young boy that lives in our hallway, who I believe his name is Caleb, and he's 8 years old. We were sitting on the porch and just, you know, chilling out, because he likes to go outside sometimes. And then all of a sudden he just got up, went to the door, and said, "Hi, ghost," and pointed to the stairwell. And he did it again a couple minutes later, and then he kind of was just like, "Let's go inside." So I was like, okay. I mentioned it to my sister, and we talked to the upstairs neighbor on Sunday during our yard sale, and she said there was also a woman in a white nightgown that went upstairs and literally walked right into her apartment through the door, which was closed. There's also a watchman who goes up and down the stairs with his lantern. Doesn't really bother anybody, just checks in on all the tenants, which hence the name the watchman. There's also a 14-year-old girl who lives up on top of my closet. So it's like in the other apartment, but I can feel her or sense her down here. Occasionally she knocks on the door, or not knocks, but wiggles the doorknob, and you can actually see it moving, like it's turning. It's not just rattling, you can see it turning. And all we know from her is that she's 14. We're not sure of her name. I just kind of call her Carrie, but I'm not sure if that's her name. I just gave her a name so I could talk to her, or, you know, just say hi whenever she rattles the door. There's also some entity or ghost in the second floor apartment on the other side of our apartment. We live in a double-decker apartment building, so one half of the building is labeled 146, the other half is labeled 148. And this would be in 148 apartment 2's house. There is a random entity that flushes the toilet randomly. So, like, there was nobody living in there for a couple of months, and the toilet was still flushing, like literally flushing every couple hours, but there was nobody in there. So we're not sure. I did some research last night, and this house was in existence in 1934, and I'm not sure if they're sisters or mother and daughter, but they lived here. Albertine and Cecile LaFont lived in this apartment building in 1934. One lived on 146, one lived on 148. So that tells us that it was in existence in 1934, but There's no information online that I could find that says when this apartment was built. So we're going to go down to City Hall and get a record and figure out if, you know, it was military housing for military families or if it was mill housing for those that worked in the mill yard, because the hauntings seem to be friendly and family oriented. You know, you've got the 8-year-old, the 14-year-old, the young woman in the white gown, and then the flushing of the toilet could be the father of all of these entities. Um, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on, you know, have you had a paranormal experience? Feel free to video reply or comment. Also, if you're a Dancing with the Stars watcher, who are you voting for? Who's your early guess? Based on yesterday's performances, I think that Valerie Harper has a chance of getting at least into the middle of the competition. Bill Engvall can make it pretty high, I think. Amber Riley is obviously going to do well. And I really believe that Elizabeth Berkley is going to do well. I'm hoping that Bill Nye gets kicked off next week because obviously he's not doing very well. And that's all for this week, so I'll see you next week.